Ukraine is ready for a complete and unconditional ceasefire.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky emphasized the importance of achieving a full and unconditional ceasefire as soon as possible. In a social media post on May 18th, Zelensky said he had a good meeting in Italy with US Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. During the discussion, the three high-level officials reviewed the May 16th peace talks in Istanbul, where, according to Zelensky, Russia sent a low-level delegation without decision-making authority. He reiterated his earlier criticism that the Kremlin is not taking the Turkey-hosted negotiations seriously. I reaffirmed Ukraine's readiness for genuine diplomacy and stressed the urgent need for a complete and unconditional ceasefire, Zelensky said regarding his talks with Vance and Rubio. The Ukrainian president also noted that they discussed sanctions on Russia, the battlefield situation, and future prisoner exchanges. I thank the American people for their support and leadership in saving lives, Zelensky added. This meeting between President Zelensky and Vice President Vance was the first since a February dispute at the White House that had strained relations between the two sides. Zelensky described the latest conversation as positive and shared photos of smiling Ukrainian and US officials. A senior Ukrainian official added that President Zelensky and Vice President Vance discussed the situation on the battlefield, preparations for a phone call with President Trump, the possibility of imposing sanctions on Russia if negotiations fail, and the ceasefire. The increased diplomatic efforts follow the first direct talks between Moscow and Kyiv in years, held in Istanbul on May 16th, which failed to produce a ceasefire, and as European leaders threatened to impose new sanctions on Moscow. Senior European Union official Ursula von der Leyen stated that next week would be a critical moment for Ukraine's future, ahead of a potential phone call between US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. On May 17th, Trump said he would speak with Putin by phone to end the bloodshed in Ukraine. In a statement posted on Telegram on May 16th, Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov said Kyiv had coordinated its stance with key allies, including the US, the UK, France, and Germany, prior to the meeting with the Russian delegation in Istanbul, Turkey. Umerov, who led the Ukrainian delegation at the talks in Turkey, described the move as an effort to find real ways to achieve a lasting and just peace. On the same day, President Zelensky also declared that Ukraine's top priority is a complete, unconditional, and honest ceasefire. Russian senior diplomat Rodion Miroshnik, ambassador-at-large of the Russian Foreign Ministry, stated that any ceasefire agreement between Russia and Ukraine must support lasting peace, rather than provide Kyiv with an opportunity to regroup militarily. We clearly understand that the Ukrainian side needs a ceasefire to strengthen its position, build new fortifications, supply weapons, and regroup forces. That would mean reaching a new level of escalation within a month, Miroshnik commented.
Excessive expectations during the Russia-Ukraine negotiations.
The direct peace talks between Russia and Ukraine in Istanbul on May 16th ended abruptly in less than 2 hours, with no significant progress achieved. Both sides blamed each other for making unacceptable demands. Russia's chief negotiator, Vladimir Medinsky, criticized Ukraine's insistence on a ceasefire as a precondition for negotiations, calling it unnecessary and excessive. He argued that such an approach goes against historical precedent and claimed that Ukraine would use any ceasefire to rearm and regroup its military. Medinsky also emphasized that the conflict could have ended as early as February 2022 if Kyiv had agreed to talks, and blamed Western interference, particularly the May 2022 visit by former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson for disrupting earlier peace efforts. On the Ukrainian side, Foreign Ministry spokesman Georgy Tiki stated that Russia made unacceptable statements during the meeting but declined to provide details. He affirmed that Ukraine's delegation handled the talks well and maintained its consistent position. According to a Ukrainian diplomatic source cited by Sky News, Russia made unrealistic demands, including that Ukrainian forces withdraw from Russian-occupied territories as a condition for a ceasefire, an idea Kyiv considers completely unacceptable.